Hello everyone and welcome to another iPICKmyBUTT video. More Archero today, and we have done it. Chapter 16 completed. This video will be going over it all, but I didn't realize what a huge mistake I made a couple of weeks ago when I had enough to take my legendary Void Robe and my legendary Phantom Cloak and combine them to make an ancient legendary Phantom Cloak. Sounds great? Well, on this, I didn't realize how important that Void Robe was. And I've also heard too that Shadow Robe is great, and Vested Dexterity can be okay sometimes, but the Void Robe deals damage to everybody in the room, poison damage that is. And I would love to test out the Shadow Robe, but I don't even have it at a rarity yet, which means I don't get that special buff on it. So I'm actually using a level 40 Void Robe here, which is dropping my health down a little bit, but it really does pay off and seems to kill the enemies just about in time for the next wave to come. Now, yes, we did go for the old classic here of using the staff. It is slow with all these enemies, so it's not really advised. I did try it with the ancient legendary bow that I have, but that seems to be a little bit quicker. But let's be honest, if you don't have the attack damage, there's nothing like having those diagonal arrows hit everybody at once. Now back to the armor itself. Like I said, the Void Robe does the poison damage, and it really seems to be OP in this. But the Shadow Robe is special because of that Dark Touch ability, and even if you don't have it, getting the Dark Touch in this is huge against these waves of enemies. And the Vested Dexterity is nice if you are going to try to run a dodge build on this. I know that's worked for some people, but the lightning ability that it gives is only really for the enemies that get close to you, so you kind of have to hang close to them, and that could be a little bit troublesome seeing how those first couple of levels are really going to be you running. Now onto the weapons. Yes, I am using the staff once again. It seems to be working well for me in the end game. It is highly RNG based, which means you're struggling through a lot of boards to finally get it, but getting the diagonals, getting multi-shot, throw a ricochet in there, it does make it pretty easy peasy. But even with 6,200 attack damage, I still was struggling at some parts of this because this chapter is insane. Now I know a lot of other people were using the Death Scythe, and the fact of having the knockback on it seems to be a huge help, not to mention the actual killing the enemies once they get below 30%. I think it does a headshot or something like that. And another effective weapon would be the spear, because obviously when the second it leaves your arm, it automatically hits, which leaves for little missing. But really, the stacking of it also helps out if you're hitting the same enemies. Now, if you're not even getting up to the crab boss on this, I really suggest you try the Void Robe because it really will make a difference for you. But these first two levels, level 1 and level 3, I find most of my time, except for this because I have diagonal arrows first things, but I find myself running around the map in a circle and kind of just taking those quick shots when I can. The enemies that I'm always trying to dodge in these first two levels is going to be the skeleton with the swinging sword. I want to keep my distance from him. And then the other one is those jumping kind of skeleton heads. I'm always constantly moving, and I always try to just run straight through them because they're going to jump right over you. It doesn't seem like freeze really affected him at all in this, but freeze didn't really seem to be any benefit to me on this board in general. Now here we are, we're about to go into the crab boss, which people are saying is one of the hardest new bosses in the game. And what I find with him is I try to move over right away. Don't know why I didn't do it right here, but I will say this is not my best run against him right here, but if I survive without using a revive, I consider that a win. Now notice those notches right next to me on the wall. I try to hang out right at those. That way if he spins towards me, I can still drop back and move out of the way. Slow projectiles is a nice one on this. I'm just playing sloppy on this. But Dark Touch also seems to be a good one too, because it seems to kind of stunt him when he's spinning at you, when he explodes from that Dark Touch. So that's another great thing to get also with it. But really guys, he's a pain. Try to stick to the walls, watch out for his spins, and other than that, it's not too bad. Now this part here, watch out for these freaking laser guys. I totally forgot about them. Bam, I got hit. And this is where I use, kind of like I mentioned it, in endless mode or dual mode. Not really a stutter stepping, but I kind of do a micro step, just kind of left to right and constantly moving to watch those kind of freaking lasers. Those guys are the biggest pain in the neck if you play this, and if they get you, they drain pretty fast. Also, be careful because even if you're not touching the yellow, it does seem to hit a little bit outside of those yellow beams too. But really, if you can kind of just go back and forth, once you know that those guys aren't on that wave, then you're free to roam around and kind of just do your thing. But really, this takes some really pristine dodging on this. Otherwise, you catch yourself getting nailed. And if you're not able to kill them just about every wave, well, it's pretty much game over because you just get overwhelmed. Now, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I actually grabbed a multi-shot from the devil at the crab boss. Don't know how I got the devil, but I'm not going to complain. But we're going to take a second multi-shot here, which is really going to make a rapid fire effect with this staff. As far as the rings I'm using on this, we are going lion, bull ring, bull to have the actual additional damage to mobs, and I do level up my rings also. I know a lot of people don't. I'm going to take the extra little bonus attack from that. And then, of course, the lion ring itself too, that 4% damage is a huge help. It just seems like a no-brainer to me, and it helps out on the bosses too. We are using the frozen bracelet on this and have that leveled up as much as we can because that's additional base attack damage. Really, I don't think I've ever used other ones besides starting out. That just seems to go to, but I did switch from the Angel Locket to the Agile Locket just to help out a little bit on the dodge because you definitely take a bunch of hits on this. And then as far as the book, I switched back to the Book of Enlightenment just to get those extra abilities. Bam, look at this, we're down. I actually didn't think I was going to make it through because we died right there. And that was actually an ad for Wind Wing, which every time I see it, I'm like, man, that looks like kind of fun, but I don't know, maybe I'll try it. It seems like every time I play this, every day I get the same ad over and over. It's always a different game per the day, but today it was Wind Wing. So I don't know, let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. Now, these guys can be a huge pain. I hate fighting them, and really, Ricochet seems to be an OP thing to have if you end up getting them. Actually, Ricochet is going to be a huge one on this chapter overall because no matter what, you're going to face these guys or you're going to face the dragonflies. There is the other one, which is the actual, I don't know, kind of the guy that launches the meteors down and then shoots the purple orbs at you. That's probably the easiest one altogether. But really, the matter of luck on that was Ricochet because once they start spawning those ads out, if you don't have it, those little rocks are going to start banging on you. And if you are lucky enough, grab Smart if you see it in one of the first two. Obviously, don't pass it up for the multi-shot or else. But if things look garbage, Smart is kind of a nice thing to get those extra abilities. These two levels right here, level 11 and 13, they seem to be easier than 6 and 8. I don't know why, it just seems like when I get to this point, I don't really struggle as much. Maybe it's because I don't see as many of those yellow lasers and it's more just kind of your stupid mobs you run into. Or it could just be that I have a good stack of abilities lined up already, which is going to drop these guys easier. You also may have noticed we have our lizards, which I believe is at 13 that came from, 13 or 15, but something you want to keep on moving your left to right on that to dodge those bombs. Never make those small steps when you see those things launch. You just got to get right away from them. And when I do say this board seems easier than the actual earlier levels on it, keep in mind that these things are going to hit a lot more, and probably because I have the invincibility bubble, that's making it a little bit lighter on the actual hits that I'm taking. But really, it seemed like my invincibility star timed out pretty well for me on this. We just took a hit, and for some reason, those auras just don't really seem to be good effect for me, because whenever I have an aura, I want to stop and just start firing away. And this level just has me moving around a little bit too much in order for me to pick that aura. So that's why I chose the Fury. It seemed like the better of the two. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would say 6,500 damage seems like to be a good attack to go at. I still think I'm a little bit under level for this, but really 6,500 I think is a safe number to go by, and if you beat it less, let me know in the comments below. Now, you did see me grab the blaze there. I am big on different arrow tips on this. They really seem to help out with how many I'm actually shooting. Obviously, if there was something like an attack major there, I'd probably have grabbed that, but I've become a huge fan of using those tip abilities on this. Another one that you really wouldn't think is too crucial and people don't choose a lot, but the strikes, when you do have a chance to kind of set, you can hit those far enemies away, and they really do pinpoint them down. So don't overrule one of those, but for me, I really stayed away from any type of freeze type objects on this. I still fear that those kind of jumping things, there was that glitch going on in Chapter 13 where they would just launch across the screen. Maybe it was 15. I don't know why I'm getting 13 and 15 confused so much. I feel like I get stuck on a chapter for so long that I can't remember the ones prior to it. So maybe that's just me getting old. But you can see we're doing pretty good here, and we're about to waste these. One wave left, and it doesn't look like we're going to get too many enemies on this one, but something I did find out that helped pretty good was Bloodthirst. I know a lot of people pick on me. Chapter 3 video, yes, I chose Bloodthirst over multi-shot, but with how many enemies you kill in this, Bloodthirst is actually a big help. It can really keep you alive. So going in now, we would either run into the dragonflies or run into those meteor type guys, and we got the dragonfly, so I did not luck out on this, but those fireballs are a huge pain, and this is kind of one of those things where I'm kind of doing a micro step and I'm kind of running at the same time. Got to constantly dodge the fireballs if you can. Don't sit in them, obviously. There's always that moment where you get trapped in the back like I'm right here and you go, oh shoot, I'm going to kind of get it. But try to stay out of the direct path of them. That way they don't go and hit you. Just kind of always keep like an arc to your movement if you can. Obviously, we didn't get the devil on that one, but we'll take some coins here, and I really got to start spinning those wheels to get some extra gems. I have my phone so filled up that I never really want to go and waste any extra time on it. Now, HP boost there just really seemed like the best bet to go for, because a little extra HP goes a long way, especially when you get it this far. And we only have 2 levels left, and it's a little chaotic here, but I'm keeping my distance. And luckily we're doing enough damage where these guys are dropping before the next wave refresh. Those things almost got me. Lucked out on that. We got rid of the actual guy that shoots those purple orbs. He can be a huge pain if you don't get him right away. And obviously the death sights, thank God for headshot there, because that just dropped them real fast. The dogs, they don't really seem to be too much of an issue. I think I've dealt with them so much in the earlier levels, I kind of had their timing down. And then these dragons right here, man, that just seemed like an easy way for me to get by on it, because kill the first one, all the other ones can't breathe enough. But come Hero Mode Chapter 16, that might be a little bit of a different story. Can you imagine that? Hero Mode Chapter 16? I don't even want to think about it. I still got to beat Chapter 14, which is another huge pain we'll be bringing you pretty soon too. But this bubble is really saving me. I'm not really a fan of the actual shield that spins around you. That doesn't really seem to do as much, but the bubble is definitely an OP clutch thing to have. Now look at this, we're grabbing slow projectiles, and it's amazing how much easier it actually makes everything in this when stuff's just coming at you slow, because there is a lot of stuff firing at you. Really the only thing that seems to be running at you is those bouncy ones, the dogs, and then the skeletons, and everything else is just kind of sit back and fire at you. And if we could slow that down, it does seem to make a big difference. But when I got into the final boss, you'll see it doesn't actually seem like those slow projectiles were really working on him. The fireballs that were coming out of his mouth seemed like they were coming fast. So let me know once we get to a point here, we'll bring it up. Let me know if that looks normal for you, for how fast those things are moving, or if the game didn't actually register that I had slow projectiles or that. So we're getting closer here. And how many more waves do we have? We're on 3 right now. So I'm going to start kind of walking around. Really, all I could say, guys, is just keep on dodging and pray and hope that you get past this point, because I don't really know how I did this. I think I just went in, like, maybe I just blacked out for a minute and just went into that gamer mode, but somehow I got through this, and it really just seemed to get me to the point where I'm like, okay, I know how this end boss goes. Let me take him down. I wasn't really expecting the archers there. That was kind of a new thing for me. Didn't really see too many of them at all in this. Anything there, you're going to have a little red laser across the screen, but wasn't really an issue. We just dropped them too, and now we are on the home stretch here. So those bouncy guys, god darn them, what a pain. I could do without those things being in the level because they drive me nuts. And here we go, last guy, we're going into the final boss. So obviously we'll make sure we're at full health going in here. But like I said, watch these fireballs going into this thing. Let's just take a little breather here. We're going to get this. But man, those seem to come out pretty darn fast, don't they? So we have the fireballs. We have the actual fire breath that he does. He has those that drop down. Now, I didn't know that at first, that those kind of shoot like a T-shaped object. So that's how I died the first time I played him. And then he does have it where he launches 6 dragons around him, and they kind of shoot like a, I don't know if it's a pentagon, that'd be kind of like a Star of David more, I would probably say. And I don't even know if I actually saw it on this one. We'll have to take a look. It just happened so, oh, there it is right there. And actually it got me, you can kind of see it, the fire damage was kind of ticking away at me for a second. Still going. But man, those fireballs, it just doesn't seem like they're affected by slow projectiles at all. So we did pretty good here. I took the hit and I go, oh man, I'm dead. But we grab the Dark Touch finally, which is another huge thing. And now I'm just kind of sitting back. Bam, it's done. So let me know your thoughts on this chapter, any tips you want to share with anybody else. But other than that, guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, and remember, I pick my butt.